Hey everybody, this is the Creative Mindset Podcast, and I'm your host, Chris Rusakis. Today we are here with visual artist, Toronto-born girl, Shaemara.
Hello, hi.
What do you have going on here today? I see this mask.
Yeah, so this would be one of my visual art projects. So I released my first EP a few years ago, and on that EP, there's a song called Masquerade. And to perform, I used to wear this mask.
And as you can see today, everybody watching, I am a little bit more decked out than normal, and that's just so that I fit the scene as you are dressed so lovely today.
Well, thank you.
I love everything about this outfit. It's so beautiful.
Thanks. So I guess I'm gonna remove this now, but
I mean, I might wear it at some point.
yeah, I think you would look great. Yeah, a lot of the stuff that I'm wearing today, they're really special pieces to me. So like this is one of my very first Nefertiti crown. I'd always wanted to have a Nefertiti look, so I created this crown and the neck piece for a music video that I had for a song called Shadow. The shirt underneath is from my very first show ever, and that look was inspired by one of my favorite artists of mine, Sade. So stuff to talk about later. So yeah, I just thought you kind of inspired me when you messaged me and you were like, "Hey, wear this something that looks like this."
Yes,
You found like a photo, and I was like, "Okay."
She delivered, guys. She definitely delivered.
Well, I was like, I'm not gonna be able to make something for you overnight, but I can definitely bring in some of my history. And,
I mean, I might have to get you to curate something for me later on down the road.
Yeah, we can definitely do some. I love menswear.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan.
I think I could pull this off.
Yeah, I think so.
So I want to take people back. You know, you're living in Ottawa now, but Toronto born and raised, both immigrant parents, right? Barbados and Czech Republic, is that right?
Yeah, so my mom is from Barbados. My dad is actually Canadian. My grandfather is Hungarian, and my grandmother is Czechoslovakian. So my parents actually met at art college. They went to what's now OCAD, but back in the day when it was OCA. My dad
The
did.
OG.
Yeah. So my dad, he did film and photography, and he is a musician. And my mom, she studied textiles and art, and she also taught art, and she taught English. And she's done a lot of different things, from costume design to just clothing design and lots of things like that.
I could only imagine what it was like growing up in an environment like that. I know even for myself, there was like a lot of struggle that I had with telling my parents I wanted to go into photography at one point.
Mm-hmm.
And even so much so that when I went to university, I decided not to go to college for photography because I thought it was going to make my parents more proud if I had gone to university. And I kind of want to hear a little bit about growing up in a household where art was, you know, promoted and, you know, I'm assuming expected of you.
Yeah, so and I actually have a similar story. So my mom was very focused on the academics and very much like pushing the academic side, whereas my dad was a little bit more, he wasn't as square. He was more on the art side.
Right.
So
Free spirit.
Yeah, and also with my mother, it's just really important with that side of the family as well to, be a lawyer, be a doctor, be something, my uncle's a doctor, things like that. So you really, they want you to reach high, have high goals, which is totally understandable. So, big interest for me growing up alongside art was also law. So I was always really big into it. I had huge plans on studying criminal law and becoming a prosecutor and maybe being a judge. And like that was my way of wanting to give back and help change the world in that way. I thought that was the way for me to do it.
I'm seeing the show right now. It's Judge Shaemara.
Right? And you know what? Like, we live so many lives within a life. So it's, to me, I'm like, that's still a possibility. It's still something that
could
pop up again later. Like, you never know.
We're going to bring up a graphic of you with this headpiece and just Photoshop you into Judge Judy. So,
right? I loved, you don't even know, like, I loved Judge Judy back, like, when I was, I don't know, 12 or something or 14. I don't know. But so yeah, so that was that. So I went to Queen's University. I started off in political studies, and then within my first year, I just realized I'm like, you know what, I really just love my English course. I've always been into that in high school, and I
Yeah, I
switched.
remember you
Yeah.
telling me previously about the fact that poetry and literature, were a big influence early on for you. And I think it's just a natural process to write if that is part of your life.
Yeah.
And obviously, you got to a point where you were saying to yourself, maybe I can express myself through music. Is that accurate?
Yeah. So definitely from like, let's say as early as 10 or maybe even earlier than that. I always was an avid reader. I was that kid that was like getting in trouble with the light on underneath my blanket. You know what I mean? That, of course, like it's hard not to get influenced by, the way that reading makes you feel, and then you want to start to create that same thing. So poetry was my way of expressing myself. I'm a very shy person. I've come like a long way from through life, and it's really funny, like as a side note, that like of course I'm putting myself out there in this like loud way, but at the same time, like if you're really looking closely, within poetry and within songwriting, you're able to kind of like hide behind the guise of your metaphors, right? So I'm telling you everything, but like you have to put in that time and effort to like pull out what the message is and what's hidden.
For
And
sure.
some messages
Yeah.
are going to be way more in your face, and some are going to be like, you have to read between the lines. So like something that was really an important concept for me in school, I was studying the Romantics, and we talked about negative capability and just like the empty space in between the stanzas and how much that really has to say. And so it really helps you to be concise in what you do, whether it's writing or creating, producing a song or editing a video or like editing a photo or like, styling an outfit. It's all about being concise, and there's many ways to get your message across, and sometimes it's a lot of words, but sometimes it's really like what you haven't said. So
For sure.
that was kind of like a huge part of my process. And by the time I reached the age of 18 in high school, I was able to run our school's fashion show, and through that platform, I ended up introducing, like I curated the whole music for it. I performed, and it was my first chance to like do a song. So at the time I had, through friends that were doing music production, I had some like software that I was playing around with on like my Cube desktop computer, like it was a square. And like, and so I was like, okay, so that's how I would get my instrumentals. So from there, I'd like burn it onto a CD, put it into the CD player, tape that onto the cassette tape, and then through the speakers, you could record, like there's a mic inside one of the speakers. So I'd record my vocals on one and then like switch the tapes out and like create harmonies and stuff.
That's
And
amazing.
that was how just so I could like hear it and like figure it out. And so that
Very
was like,
experimental.
totally. And it's like, as an artist, I think like the gift that we have is, or one of the gifts, is being resourceful. And that's something that you can apply in life and like in all ways of life. You know what I mean? It's not just, again, like making art. It's in survival. It's all those types of things. So being an artist and going through that process of just being like, well, I want to hear what I want to hear, and I want to see what's the vision that I have right now in front of me. Like, how can I make that happen with what I have and not allow myself to be held back?
Right. Yeah.
And as a result of that, that has allowed me to just be like, okay, I see my potential. I know what potential is. I know what's good. I know what's not good. I know what's good enough, and I know that sometimes I just have to put myself out there in order to create the opportunities, because somebody else is going to also see that potential and go with it, which kind of leads me into another project that that brought me onto that path. So at one point, my music production journey, I got a MacBook. So I got like GarageBand, and that really set me free, and I was able to like experiment with new sounds, and I found different websites to get loops and stuff like that. So I kind of got introduced to that, but initially I still didn't know what I was doing. So I'd create my own like beats and have like, these really kind of like empty, almost acoustic, but still electronic songs. And I made a song called Blue Lightning. So I must have been around like maybe 2011 or 2012 or something like that. And I started finding, like I had some outlets, so there were some like open mics. I was able to go test out the
Yeah.
songs.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned, my mom's from Barbados, so I finally went there by myself for the first time. I'd been with her before, but it was my first time going alone. I had recently got an SLR camera. I bought a camera instead of a mic. I was like initially going for a mic, got the camera for some reason. And I got into a whole photography time of life at that time too. But anyway, so I brought that. And on the beach in Barbados, I filmed myself. And like that was my whole vacation, was like making this music video for myself. So then the next step was literally a few months later, I'd procrastinated, you know, my birthday was coming up. I always feel like your birthday is like, it's your new beginning, it's your new chapter. You know, there's a lot of momentum, like there's a lot of things ending and there's stuff starting. And so I like to really like get into my new year, like at a running start and just like throwing in a couple last minute things on the checklist that maybe you didn't do. And so I remember vividly that year, you know, I had been kind of putting myself out there and talking to people, and I'm like, yeah, I'm an artist, but like I felt like I had nothing to show for it besides just like the knowledge in my mind and like my private recording sessions at my house. Like I had nothing to really show for it out there. And so I was like, I'm going to make something for myself instead of waiting for, you know, to meet that person or whatever. And so I literally stayed up till 4 a.m. that night, finished editing the video. I put it out on YouTube and I was like, that's it. It's official.
You're an artist
I'm out
now.
there. I'm an artist. And yeah.
I wanna circle back though.
Yes.
I think, you know, a lot of us have that moment in time where we either meet someone within the industry or we have the pleasure of watching a performance, a live performance, or even on TV, and it kind of shapes us going forward as an artist. Mm-hmm. Did you have that at any point?
Yeah, so I definitely had a lot of influences, and thanks to, you know, having my father as a musician, he had just like hundreds of records, cassette tapes, CDs, like introducing me constantly to music. And through him, and a few friends as well, I was really lucky and blessed in my life to see a lot of major artists for free. I got all these tickets and just by different opportunities. So my very first concert, like at the ACC in Toronto, like my first major concert I ever saw was Destiny's Child, Survivor Tour.
Okay, so Survivor Tour, did they do Jumpin' on that one?
That was the CD before,
but
they definitely performed. Like that was the
That's
album with Say My
by
Name
them.
and everything. Jumping, yeah, Say My Name. Like that
Ladies,
was great.
The club is full of bottom, then
Yes.
they fucking fall round.
It was definitely that was definitely The Writings on the Wall. That was the first album.
Yeah.
But Survivor Tour was with independent women and
Survivor.
and Survivor.
Yeah.
So that concert was crazy.
I can only imagine.
Solange this was before Solange like got into music. She was the host. Eve, like the rapper Eve, opened. Nelly opened. P Diddy's girl group Dream opened. Like it was so crazy. Or what's it called? Nelly came out like on a motorcycle. Like
No way.
So, anyways, I just remember being in the audience and I was there with my best friend at the time from high school, and I remember saying to her like, "Don't you wish that you were on stage right now? Like, don't like." I can't. I could see myself dancing. Like, I really am connecting to this moment. And she was like, no. You know? And at the time, we must have been like, I don't know, 14 or, yeah, maybe about 14. About 14 at the time.
That seems about right. Yeah.
So, it was just funny because, you know, at that time, I'm not connecting that might be not normal. But of course, like leading up to that in elementary schools and things like that, like, you know, I'd be in talent shows, I'd be doing dance class, so like a lot of dance performances for like Afro-Caribbean tap, that type of stuff. So
That's right, yeah.
It still was always there, kind of like building, but yeah, it was a fun
Well, Shay,
moment.
I completely forgot that we have our friends Red Bull.
Oh, yes.
Who have given us a lot of Red Bull to have in the studio now. And, you know, my lips are already getting chapped here,
Yes.
just talking. Would you like to crack a Red Bull with me?
I'm pretty much ready. I was going to say I'm a bit...
I bring it up right to the mic.
Oh.
Just to get that nice...
freshness.
We want everybody to know we got wings, right?
Yeah.
Beautiful. So you have this very Afrocentric vibe too, which I am very much in love with. And I think it draws the viewers in, and you likely have a demographic of people that appreciate seeing a woman like yourself expressing yourself in a way that is not very much the norm, I would say, in the music industry. Obviously, we have people who are very bright and vibrant with what they dress for concerts, but I feel that the connection between your culture and your clothing and your look are very cohesive, and it's refreshing to see that. How did that all come about? Was that from day one something that you had in mind, or was that an evolution that took place?
So I think I would say it's an evolution. My mom has stories back to when I was 3 years old, kind of dictating like, what do I want to wear, and having an opinion about it. When I was in elementary school, like my look was like, I want to be a businesswoman, because I was very much focused on like, I'm going to go to law school too. So like I'd shop at Jacobs, I'd have like the flowy like business like palazzo pants, all that button-up shirts, stuff like that. So I've just, it's kind of been like this journey, and there was a huge point in life when I got introduced to thrifting. So that really, was able to feed my imagination, like all those things in my mind, all the high fashion that's been inspiring to me. Like there's a stylist named Catherine Baba. She's amazing.
Yeah, shout out Catherine Baba.
Yeah, it's like I love her so much. And so people like that you see and you're like, how would I ever get my hands on the materials like this to like really express myself in my mind? Thrifting, kind of gives you the chance to put your hands on that stuff.
So in a piece like this,
yeah,
we have some recycled material. Is that fair to say? Some thrifting?
Yeah. So I would say, so out of the pieces that I'm wearing right now, so this neck piece here, like this is a thrifted belt. This was a thrifted belt. That's a thrifted necklace. And then the base was just like literally cardboard.
I can
You know
see
what I
that.
mean? And just stuff like that.
But
So
it works.
Exactly. And so at the time, like this was purely costume for the music video, and in the early beginnings of my construction and things like that. But like that's what costume design is. And even creating this hat, like, so I used like a bunch of jewel stickers and hot glue gun and created the shape. I had to create a pattern for the shape. But at the same time too, like, it all comes down to budget. And sometimes as an artist, like, I know why I don't have a house, because like, I was like, there's no budget, like just whatever it takes to make the art. So making something like this at one point, I'm like, okay, like let's just start to, maybe I think, I wanted to have it all white diamonds, but I'm like, let's start to be resourceful, and like, what else do I have laying around from other projects? And then at the same time, that brings us back to that being resourceful, because it just allows you to you have to be creative in a new way. You have to create something from what you have, and that's alchemy as well. It's just like turning something into nothing, nothing into something.
You've come to the point now though where you've been able to monetize this a little bit and create products for other people.
Yeah.
Could you tell us more about that?
Yeah. So again, like after people seeing the costume versions of these hats and whatnot, I started to get people that were inquiring about, do you have it ready to wear? Can I buy it? So I had a couple like really cool dancers actually that were coming out to me, and so that prompted me to figure out, how can I make something that's going to stay on your head as a dancer and even as a performer as well? And that's how I developed the pattern. So this is one of the ready-to-wear ones. I have it in 3 different sizes as well. I created also, and I call them Nefertiti crowns. I also had created like a Nefertiti choker, and that was kind of like the very beginning, and that was my merch, and that's what I would bring to shows instead of like a T-shirt that said Shaemara.
Very cool.
I was like, and it was something that I made, and so it went really well. And from there, when I was living in Toronto, at one point, I was connected with a thrift company, so I was able to get my product in the store, and I also had access to a lot of thrift projects. So I would, repurpose things. So like maybe I'm painting denim, or I'm resewing something or whatnot. Or some things are just like straight up, it's a thrift vintage collection that I've curated. And I'm, choosing those pieces that are, maybe it's for that person that wants something a little bit different. Maybe it's for that person that's literally an artist that's looking for something for a photo shoot or a video shoot. Or maybe it's just someone that wants something special, that they're going to go outside the box and try something a little bit different. So I've got handmade jewelry, all that type of stuff.
And if someone watching this right now wants to maybe, look this up or purchase, how do they find it?
Yeah. So the brand is called Nubian City. And I'll just like as a side note, my email address in like high school was Nubian Princess. So that's where like it started. And the concept of Nubian City is really, my concept of Nubian City, and another term I like to use, Palace Studio, that I'll touch on a little bit later, but it really is just, again, connecting everybody, traveling. Like Nubian City can be anywhere that you're wearing your Nubian gear,
Sure.
So you just bring that city to you, essentially. And so it's called Nubian City. You can find it on Instagram at Nubian City. Or you can also purchase on Etsy. Literally search Nubian City, and also on my Depop page as well.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
And everything really can be found at Shaemara.com or my personal Instagram, Shaemara. To spell it for you later.
So I want to take a step back here, and as much as the clothing is a significant part of who you are as, I would say, a brand, obviously you have a immense talent with your music, and the vibe that I get from it, obviously I've been listening to it a lot lately in preparation for the show, but I just think of, those parties that go till, 4 a.m. love songs,
Yeah.
that's one of your songs, but literally it's that kind of music I want to vibe out to when I'm just like in this headspace of love and happiness, and also just like melting into my seat almost, right?
Yeah.
Can we touch on the lyrics that go into these? Because and I've said this in past episodes when we've done recording artists, I remember early days of me trying to write silly songs.
Yeah.
And they were always so dumb, They were the worst songs ever. And I respect the process of recording artists creating original lyrics for their music. And how do you even get to the point where you're writing songs? Like, what's that
Yeah.
process for you? Does something have to happen in life for you to pick up the pen and put that into, a lyrical rendition?
I mean, I feel like a lot of the time, a song, like, 3-minute, 5-minute song, whatever, however long it is, you're really just capturing almost like this millisecond of like an emotion. So like a lot of my songs, like a lot of them are about heartbreak. A lot of them are about, the world and how can we shift the global consciousness and achieve love and peace. And others are just like about love. So I found a lot, like especially on the heartbreak, I'm like, wow, this song really just like encapsulated like this moment of like despair that I had, and it, became this like awesome song that I love now, which is like always great. And you have like this new toy and gift, and again, that brings me back to the alchemy, right? It's turning those emotions into like this new toy that you have that's like the song. So yeah, sometimes a lot of the time it could be something specific that happened. But one of the songs I shared with you called True Love, that's unreleased. For instance, that song, like I don't know where it came from. I think that began with like the sound, and then it just all of a sudden I was creating these harmonies, and then all of a sudden the kind of the lyrics, like the sounds that I was making turned into words almost. So like the process can be in so many different ways. But I definitely feel like a lot of my for me, music is my therapy. Writing is my therapy. The singing and just feeling that vibrate, feeling the music, putting it all together and making that connection. That's my therapy, and that's how I get it out. And then I'm like, oh, I feel better.
I know that your first show was in Dundas Square in Toronto, which to me is almost a place reserved for you know, if you look at the advertisements that are flowing on the billboards out there and just the culture that takes place in Dundas Square, it's this spot that really is for a certain, you know, fame and a certain level of success. And it's so interesting that that was your first show.
Yeah.
And I can only imagine the amount of nerves that were going through your body having to get up there and do your thing in this very, I don't want to say sacred, but sacred spot in Toronto.
So I wouldn't call that experience my necessarily like my first show, but the opportunity, I had connected with a female artist who was a rapper, and we had done a couple like shows together at the time. And again, this is very early. Like I didn't have my own original music yet, nothing like that. So she had a song, and she wanted to feature me as like her chorus girl. So I was like Aaliyah, and she was Missy Elliott, but it was like her original song. And she had the chance to have this her set at Dundas Square. So I was super excited about it. Like, I literally, my outfit, I have photos of it, and like, you didn't see it, but I wanted to create these crazy shoulders, and I literally had like my curtain rod was like in there to create these like sharp shoulders.
Amazing.
And like, just to have something that, because you're like, it's a huge stage, and like, yeah, it was really a crazy opportunity. So, having those types of opportunities, you're just like, okay, like, how do I get back there again? And I have gotten back there, so it's really, I often perform for Pan American Festival that happens right there at Dundas Square. So it was just, you know, when I went through the years and you come back and now you're doing your own original stuff.
Yeah, that's a great point
know.
about, you know, being at this pinnacle early on and wanting to sustain that, you know, lifestyle / success. And
it's not just the success too. It's like having that, being out on the stage that's outdoors and just like singing to the world and the sky, and having like a wireless mic, and having a team, like a sound team that's just like super solid, and everyone's like, you know, this amazing production team that's
it's
super excited
professionals.
about it. Yeah. So that was, I think, in 2010, being at where I was at that point and the experiences that I had, it definitely was setting the caliber, you know, of like, okay, this is cool. And of course, since then I've had those opportunities, but in between, you know, there was like a lot of, you know, Kensington Market dive bars, but still super like awesome vibe and everything. But I'll never forget this one venue where like, we were like, okay, I guess we're not gonna play that or use that electronic device. Like, it was, we were afraid it was gonna like blow up, you know what I mean? But you'd still end up having like these crazy, amazing nights. So like,
Yeah.
you'd go from Dundas Square to that to like in between, and just, you know, the
I
journey.
think it's really interesting too how much of an emphasis you've put on your music videos, and obviously we're in a position right now where I can hold you hostage, so I'm going to.
Right.
I want a commitment right now that we're gonna work together
Yeah.
on a
Yes.
music video.
Yes. 100%.
All right,
100%.
so the world has seen
Yes.
this.
We're
Hopefully,
collabing.
you know, this is like a verbal contract, so I can
Yes.
hold you to it if
It's
it
verbal.
comes down to it.
It's recorded. We have sound. We have film.
But seriously though, let's talk about these music videos,
Yeah.
because I imagine that you come up a lot with the concepts that get used throughout.
Yeah.
And you know, our show is called The Creative Mindset. What's the creative mindset for conceptualizing a music video?
So I would say my role on set is the creative director. You know, like, I'm very much involved, and I feel like it would be hard for me to not be that involved. So one of my first music videos outside of Blue Lightning, as I had mentioned, but my very first, like, I'm working with a professional set or professional crew. I had a director, so I worked with this gentleman named Josh Haggerty.
Gentleman.
Yeah.
A gentleman.
A
Well, I'm no
gentleman.
gentleman, but I'll try to be.
So Josh Haggerty, he was a very special person to me because he was really involved in the Toronto music scene. At the time, he had an organization called A Babe Music, and they would just, I started going to open mics and things, and he like saw me and just like plucked me out and started booking me for shows, and that really helped to network and be seen and things like that. So from there, we just, from seeing him out all the time, we connected, and he also is an accomplished videographer and photographer and things like that. So he was like, I really would love to film you. So at the time, I had this new song called Swimming. I had just produced it. It was a sound that I really loved. And we're like, hey, this is going to be the one. And he had the idea to use projections. And as a side note, after doing that video shoot, I incorporated projections in like all of my
Yeah, I noticed
shows and
that.
stuff like that.
I
Yeah,
noticed that.
it was a big thing. So yeah, he worked on Swimming. He also worked on Shadow.
Shadow's my favorite song by you, by
Yeah,
the way.
I'm so glad that
I
you
pump that
like
up
it.
in the car, and I just vibe out, especially on the drive home from work.
Oh, nice.
It's one of those songs that puts me in a mindset that I don't get frustrated with traffic as much. That's for sure.
That's so nice. That's really nice to hear, actually. Like, I'm glad that you're vibing. That song's really special to me. So that was at a time I was like, I had a close group of friends, and I'm like, this is like a once in a lifetime chance for us to come together and do a project. And like literally, like our lives went separate ways. Like people had kids, all that kind of thing. So we had the chance to come together, everyone dressed up like a goddess, and then my really dear friend Koreatown Acid, she's a very cool producer,
She was the rap
keyboardist.
spot in that song, right?
Yeah, so it was her very first time rapping. She's usually the producer, and also she is Korean, and she rapped in Korean. So it was a really cool concept, and again, like I mentioned, Josh was a part of that, and so
It's funny that you say that, because I was trying to pick apart what she was saying, and I was like, am I not understanding this? And now I understand why I'm not, because it was Korean.
Yes.
So I gotta learn Korean to get that part in the song right, because I sing along. I sing along, right?
Yeah.
You can be my shadow, and it's just like, it always gets to that point in the song, and I'm like, man, I want to rap this, but I don't know what she's saying.
Like, what's happening? So I do have the translation and the lyrics, so I'm gonna send that over to you.
Awesome.
So I have it posted. Yeah.
I appreciate that. Next time I see you, I'll nail it.
You'll know. That's awesome.
Now, I know a lot of your success, let's just say on Spotify, relates back to 4 a.m. Love Song.
Yes.
It's your top song.
Yes.
Can we talk about what 4 a.m. Love Song is? I have this idea that what it is to me, but I want to hear it from you.
Yeah, absolutely. So 4 a.m. Love Songs for me was really special. Like, for one, it's kind of a play on words. I like to like trick people and be like, yeah, you think it's like a love song, but and it is. But so for me as an artist, like, I just always found myself staying up till like 4 a.m. making art, daydreaming about that concept of just like, that's what the lyrics are, like dangerously kind of falling in love with that idea of like being an artist and just like focusing your whole time and energy with art. And it is a love, and that's why I called it 4 a.m. Love Song. So it is dedicated to just all of those people out there that are staying up till late at night when the world
My
is
predictions
really
were right.
Yeah, the world's like the most peaceful and quiet, and I just feel like there's not as much noise. It's not, the vibe is, so the creative energy is just flowing.
Yeah, nobody's
that works for me.
FaceTiming you at 4 a.m.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff. So it's just peaceful. So that was the concept behind that. Koreatown Acid produced that track. And one thing too to mention with the music video, so from Swimming I learned a lot about video editing, and so Shadow I ended up editing. And same with 4 a.m. Love Songs. We shot that right at Koreatown Acid's home studio.
So you're saying you want a job at Phantom Productions as a video editor?
As an editor, I would love that.
All right.
I love
We'll make it happen.
editing.
We'll make it happen. Now, I want to talk about this transition that took place. Obviously, we're in Ottawa. You moved to Ottawa a couple years ago. You left what I consider the mecca of art in Canada to come to a city that I definitely don't associate that with. I'm interested to see from you why you decided to make that.
Yeah. So for me, you know, like born and raised in Toronto, I just came to a time and place where I was like, I need to get out of here. Toronto is just so congested, and like again, it's the same thing like 4 a.m. Like the energy all the time is just like it's buzzing, it's humming. You know, like it's not as bad as New York, but like we're getting there. A lot of the things that I loved and the places that I loved, like it was almost just like it's cycling out. You know, Queen West, all the places they're shutting down. Honest Ed's gone. It's
To
a
be condos.
condo. Yeah, you know, so like even I've visited once since then, 2 years later, like since moving, and it's crazy to see how the city has changed. So that sparked a lot of wanting to move. I was just like, I'm not ready necessarily for a small town per se. Like I am from a big city, so you know I gotta ease my way into it. But ultimately, like the plan is find a nice home and be close to mountains and water and just peacefulness. And
We
that's where I'm
definitely have
getting.
water. I don't know if we have mountains, but
I see it in the distance. I consider the elevated land
that's true.
mountains for
It's
me.
bigger than Blue Mountain, and
Right?
that's for sure.
It's, I don't have that in Toronto, so I love it.
Now, prior to leaving Toronto, though, you had started this collective with other female artists, right?
So there are we have a member who is non-binary, so they go by they them. But yes, so there's five multimedia artists, and
What's that called?
the Crystal Light
The
Collective.
Crystal Light Collective. I love that.
Yeah. So and it's so funny because when we're together, we're always like crystals, like this way, like we
Yeah.
call each other.
Scott Disick, isn't he like? No, it's the other
Oh,
guy. He's got all those crystals.
yeah.
Yeah, Spencer.
Yes,
Spencer
Spencer.
Platt or Pratt.
Yeah, he loves his
that's
crystals.
it.
So
We're gonna bring up a big picture of Spencer
Yeah.
right here with his crystals. I'll never forget. I had this friend who actually bought some because he was like, man, like he's talking a big game. Like maybe these are gonna change my life and zen me out.
Yeah, right. But it's true. I'm big into crystals. I've got them all over my home. And the very first photo shoot with the Crystal Light Collective, again, Josh was there and he was the photographer. And our challenge was to incorporate the crystal that represented us into our shoot. So we have this really awesome one of mine was rose quartz, and I made this huge rose quartz necklace and a bunch
Amazing.
of stuff like that.
But
So,
you've been able
anyway.
to keep that connection with that group now, even in Ottawa, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So at the time, we had a sponsor called Spacify, and they gave us a funds monthly that allowed us to go on a little mini tour. So we had shows between Toronto, Ottawa, and Montreal over like a year. It was a really magical time. It was a great time for networking, getting, bonding. So through that time, we really did forge like these lifelong connections. It's really rare, I think, in the music industry, especially in a place like Toronto. It's super competitive.
Very
You know what
much
I mean?
so,
People
yeah.
don't have an abundant mindset within this group. There's totally an abundant mindset. We're there to support each other. So it really was exciting to me to kind of create that group to set an example for others to be like, hey, you guys can be like, we're similar and we're different. We're all kind of like we fit under a similar umbrella out
Yeah,
there.
I
but
love that
somehow
mentality.
we're still doing it together, So since then we have stayed in touch. In fact, the collective, everybody came down to Ottawa in 2021 in the summer, in between lockdowns there. So we had a chance to kind of connect and see each other.
That's really beautiful.
So yeah.
I love that. It kind of reminds me of, I recently was watching the Andy Warhol Diaries on Netflix, and I don't know if it was, the late 70s, 80s vibe back then that just allowed this to take place, especially, and I think for me, the craziest part is it took place in one of the largest cities in the world at its time. And they had this place called The Factory. And, Andy, if you showed up and you're like, hey, I want to express myself through art, can I be part of this? He would say, yeah, start out, helping us out around The Factory, and then eventually he'd give you a chance, right?
Right.
And I think this is something that we're missing a lot of today in the arts culture, is this idea of having collaboration that isn't leading to competition, but rather leading to this cohesion of artists vibing out together and expressing ourselves in ways that allows for growth within our industry.
And the thing with the collective too is like, you know, so one of the members, Sarah Tigerwing, she is amazing with tech, like an amazing video editor, like an amazing producer, so many skills. So when like I'm like, okay, I need someone to listen to the final mix of my song, that's the person I go to. Or I got to like I love being behind the camera too. So she had this one of my favorite songs and asked me to film for her, and she had a snake on set and everything. So I got to film that, and so we're creating different opportunities for each other to also like not just like be in front of the camera. Like we're not all out there trying to just like be the superstar. Like we all genuinely love to, like I edit video for myself because I genuinely love it. So I'm going to do it for someone else too. So it's nice to have that outlet of artists who understand your art and understand your platform, I guess, and are just like open and lovingly helping you.
Yeah. And I mean, as a singer-songwriter slash visual artist, I think, and even for myself as a photographer, videographer, what else do you want to call me? I don't know.
A journalist.
The pandemic was such a rough time, and I would love to know how you managed to work your way through that, especially in the sense that someone like yourself, you feed off of that live performance, and I wonder, what it was like to go through the pandemic, just maybe even writing new music, sure, but not being able to perform all the time and not being able to, feel that love from everybody else.
So, you know what? Ironically, like I did not get creative during lockdown. I think I wrote a song. I had a couple things here and there, but it took me a really long time to get into that creative mindset. I think we all were just kind of in limbo, and that was the energy. You're just kind of like, what's going to happen next? Like, I was never relaxed enough to like kind of get into it. So I can remember vividly, it was in October of 2021, and I was just looking at my hat wall where I have this and all my stuff. And I was like on my iTunes, and I saw all my set lists from like my last show, because I had booked a show in 2019 when I first came to Ottawa just to like meet new people and everything like that. And it was a perfect thing. It was.
You let us all know who you were.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember just being like, gosh, like everything just feels like it's covered in dust, and like it was like an empty shell, like the ghost of the energy that used to be there. And the next day, on Monday, I got an email that evening inviting me to perform for Pan Am Fest. And that kind of like sparked everything again. Like I was just forced to kind of like jump back in. It was like riding a bicycle, and I didn't have time to think about it,
Yeah.
So that's what caught me back in. But yeah, during the lockdowns, my focus was kind of different. It was more about, I guess, like my domestic life, family, sorting things out in that regard. And I'm so happy that kind of music is back. Like ever since October, it's just like the opportunities have been just flowing.
Yeah, that's right. Like we're a couple weeks in now to this new world that we haven't had for a little while, and we're not really all the way back, but at the end of the day, by the time this airs, we're going to be pretty close to your birthday.
Yes.
Which is always a special time for you.
Yes.
Not because you're getting older, but because you love to release music around your birthday.
Yeah.
And I think everybody's wondering, do you have anything coming up for us?
Yeah, absolutely. So with these recent shows that I've been doing, I started performing a song that I wrote a few years ago called Indigo Blue. And I just felt, touching on interacting with the audience, I haven't had that in so long. So having that again has been like this really beautiful gauge to just see like how people react to certain songs. And I just felt like with the climate and everything that's been going on recently, that the subject matter of Indigo Blue seemed to really be resonating with people. And I was getting feedback from like, the audience and things like that, people coming chatting with me. So Indigo Blue, it really is about, it is commenting on the state of things. It is commenting on, the fact that we are connected vibrationally, and it really is up to us to, shift that global consciousness. It's like, we keep blaming each other like for years and years and years for the turmoil that we're going through. When really it's just like, hey, it's kind of, let's have a new beginning together and move forward together in a new mindset. There's so much to heal. Like, we have to start somewhere fresh, or we're not going to be able to get over that hump, essentially. So Indigo Blue is about that. And even the term indigo, it is a very spiritual concept. So if you can Google it and learn about indigo people and all this kind of stuff. And I'm not extremist in any way. But I think it is really like indigo people are meant to be like these spirits and these souls who come down to earth to help heal earth and help literally shift that global consciousness. So really, like, the song title, like that lyric embodies just like the vibe of the song. And I feel that when I do perform it, I can just see people connecting. Like, that's the magic of performing, and that's the magic of music, is it really is hypnotic, and it really can control people, And so when you hear a lot of the stuff that's on the mainstream right now, you wonder why people are acting the way they are. Well, I think that there's a connection, because when people come to my shows, I always have people coming up to me after being like, wow, I feel so good after the show. And really, it's just like, I'm just trying to create music in this, the right vibration, the right frequency that will make you feel good. And I'm trying to talk about things that are going to make you feel good. Even if it is about heartbreak, you might relate to it, whatever. But I'm just trying to, like, I'm not trying to brainwash anybody, of course, but music does that. So if it's gonna do that to you, then let me give you something good, to absorb into your vibe.
I feel that.
Yeah.
And just so everybody's aware, that's going to be coming out April 17th.
Yes.
Is that right?
April 17th.
At 4 a.m.
Something like that. Yeah. Definitely.
Well, listen, it was a great honor to have you here today. And the conversations that we had, I think, are so meaningful for, young artists to really think about being in touch with their roots and how that can enhance the art that they're creating. And I think that's very much so for yourself. And I am so excited to hear your new music once it's out and vibe out to that till 4 a.m. or later.
Yeah.
Who knows? So, guys, this is the Creative Mindset Podcast. My guest, thank you so much, Shaemara, for stopping by.
Thank you for having me.
We're all in this together, guys. Remember that. And thank you for watching. Take care.